Starting lineup, uniforms, and apparel present the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. Hello once again, everybody. Andrew Rogers here, the host of the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. This is episode number 26. Hope everyone had a great Canada Day, first and foremost, and I hope you enjoyed the Canada Day special. I want to thank Mitch Scott of Starting Lineup, Uniform, and Apparel. They are the presenting sponsor, and we're absolutely thrilled to have them along and have them along for the ride. We appreciate all the work that they do. Upcoming, we want to touch into the upcoming guests that are coming up in the podcast because there are a lot of good ones this month. Starting next week on Monday, Brendan Merritt comes in from the Seaforth Centenaires. Then on Wednesday the 8th, we have Mark Rosick and Chris Dobinson from the Elora Rocks. Then a week from today, Jordan Turcott and Gatlin Bird of the Ripley Wolves stop by on the podcast. On the 13th, Monday, July the 13th, we have Reed Simmons coming in from the Shallow Lake Crushers. On the 15th, it's Curtis Ron from the Milverton Four-Wheel Drives. And then on the 17th, we have General Manager Bill Ryan of the Tillsonburg Thunder. On the 20th, the week of the 20th, Andrew Boyle and Justin Graham at number 8 stop by from the Durham Thundercats. On the 22nd, we have Gord Lamont coming in from the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks. He's the president. And on the 24th, we have Brock Hare and Colt McGuire of the Shelburne Muskies. The last week of July, we have confirmed as well. Brady Anderson from the Minto 81s comes in on the 27th. Ben Peluk from the Elora Rocks, the head coach, is coming in on the 29th. And then we also, for the 31st, you can't see it on here, but we're working on getting in Kyler and Cole Keating from the Petrolia Squires to come in to join us here on the podcast. So a lot of great guests lined up and with a lot of great knowledge of the game, and really interesting to hear their takes on the game. And I want to rapid fire question them and just see what they got to say and see what they want to talk about. So really exciting stuff anyways coming up on the podcast. Without further ado though, we'll introduce our guests at this time. They are a pair of WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League referees. They also have refereed many different areas, and they've got a lot of experience in this game. They are father and son, Dave and Tyler Middleton. I'd like to welcome in my guests on today's episode of the podcast, episode number 26. We got a real special treat for you, a couple of WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League referees, father and son, Dave and Tyler Middleton. Guys, thanks for joining me and welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks very much for having us. Going to be, I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun.
Be careful. There's been no test done. I don't know if I'm a kid or not.
Oh man, but you know what? If we can get a solid, at least, for the whole time that this thing goes on, if we get father-son banter the entire time, I'm all for it, man. Honestly, it's going to be great.
It's kind of like that when we're on the ice together too. So I'm pretty sure some of the players will be pretty familiar with hearing it.
Right on. First question I got to ask you guys, I usually ask everybody this just because I'm interested to find out kind of how life is adjusted for you since COVID hit, because that's a big hot topic with people, is just to see how things have, if they've changed dramatically, if things are a little bit different, how it's affected you. I just wondered how you guys were doing. Tyler, do you want to go first, or do you want to take it to your dad first?
Oh, no. The age before beauty. You can go ahead.
Dave, how you been?
A lot better since Tyler moved out. It hasn't really changed our situation that much. I own my own business. I'm a financial advisor with Sun Life. My wife is Robin Woods on the radio. So we go to work like we normally would. Hasn't really changed things too much, other than you really got to make sure that you protect yourself, and in turn you're protecting other people at the same time. And I think, we're proving that in Canada, especially in this area. I mean, we haven't had a COVID case. Well, we had one earlier this week, but it's been like 7 days or 8 days in a row. So we're obviously doing a pretty good job, but thankfully it hasn't really affected our household too much.
Now, from what I understand, at least with Robin being in the radio broadcasting business, is that did she have to do some stuff from home at some point?
No, not at all. Now she does. If people are listening, they can hear her on CFOS, and they can also hear her on 98 The Beach.
Right.
She does all of her work from 98 The Beach. It just kind of gets sent via the internet over to CFOF. So she doesn't actually have to be in the studio to do that.
Okay.
There is the capability to do it at home, I guess, if she wanted to. But let's be honest, we don't need to spend more time together. That's why we've been married for 32 years. We're smart enough to stay apart as much as possible.
I understand, Dave. Tyler, how you been, man? What's been going on with you?
Nothing's really changed. I'm still working. Just got moved down here, so it was a little worse in the city. But for the first, I don't know, month and a half, it was kind of a panic to not really knowing what was going on. But after that, you settle in, and when you're kind of outside at working all day, it becomes a new normal. You get used to it, so
I understand.
Get over it.
No, I hear you. No, it's obviously it's very interesting for me, and I got to be honest. In terms of my questioning, it's a little bit different of an attack on the questions, because normally I'm asking hockey players, not necessarily referees, and that's a really interesting take for me, to be honest. I'll probably have a lot of referee-oriented questions just in general, but it's really interesting, this league, and it's one of fascination for me, and one that I get a lot of pleasure out of watching, because it is so great, and there is a world of talent out there. As a gentleman who have refereed in this league, what is the main thing that you see that impresses you the most about this league? We can start with Dave and then go to Tyler.
Wow, I think you hit the nail on the head. The talent level is unbelievable. Now the bad part for people like me, I mean, I'm not getting any younger. Our senior referees in our league, we're all getting older, so we're glad they went to the 4-man system. It really helped us be able to stay in the league and be mentors for the other refs. I think the big thing is the speed. And I don't care if we're playing on a small ice surface or the Plex in Port Elgin, which is one of the bigger surfaces we play on. It's fast. And if you can't skate, you can't pass, you're not in this league anymore. The days of the rough and tumble guy, they're long gone.
Right. What about you, Tyler? What do you notice, man?
Well, the one thing about the speed too is it's not necessarily foot speed. It's from a guy that myself, who's done junior hockey and is doing senior hockey at the same time. The junior hockey guys like to get the puck on their stick and just skate. The senior hockey guys are smart enough to get their head up and throw that stretch pass down ice. So it's quicker in that sense, where you have to be ready down ice as the back guy for a quick transition. But other than that, I just really enjoy, getting to play or getting to perform, if you want to put it that way. And these rinks that I played in growing up, but now instead of having my mom and my dad in it, it's got 2, 3, 5,000 people in it.
Interesting.
So that's what I enjoy, seeing the communities coming out and supporting this. It is talent when you get ex-NHL guys like Uncle Theo playing.
Uncle Theo.
That you see the enjoyment in some of the kids' faces and be able to come out and high five them going onto the ice, and that's what I enjoy most, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean and I think the thing is, and Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I mean, obviously being a little bit younger in terms of being a referee, like, I mean, I imagine not all of them are of your age group, but the thing is, for you, I mean, you're not long removed from being one of those kids in those stands watching those games, right?
Oh, I still do. When I used to live in Port, when I wasn't doing a Hawks game or doing a senior game or junior game that night, I'd be out watching the Hawks game, still supporting, seeing all my friends that happen to be there, maybe have a couple wobbly pops upstairs. But that's I still love watching hockey. I just love hockey in general. I think you have to be doing what we do.
Fair enough. And it's interesting that you bring that up, because I wanted to ask you about that as well. When you're out there refereeing and you obviously know the people that are on the ice and that sort of thing, how difficult is it to separate professionalism and, hey, that's my buddy, I don't want to call a penalty against him, God forbid?
Really not that difficult, because you just have a job to do. And for the most part, most of the players get like, you're right. I mean, this is I think coming up on my 5th year in the league. And so the players know me, I know them. And of course, referees talk to referees, so we learn more about the players that way. I don't think there's any difficulty whatsoever in making a call. Our job when we're on the ice is pretty straightforward. Call what happens, and then try and, I like to think of it as trying to calm the situation before it gets out of hand. So before players start yelling and swinging and doing all of that stuff, take care of the situation so that everybody, they may not be happy with it, but at least they're going to understand why you did what you did.
Well, sorry, go ahead, Tyler.
I just think it happens so quick that it's hard to understand unless you've done it. When you see an infraction in front, hey, your arm just goes up. You have no idea. You don't know who did it. You look for the number second to try and find your number afterwards. So you have no idea. And I think it's actually easier when you have a repertoire with some of the players. And like the one guy that I did grow up with is Nate Kramer. He plays for
Shallow Lake.
Plays for Shallow Lake.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
I grew up with him. Yeah, I grew up with him playing baseball forever. So there's that respect level between us where, if he's getting a little out of hand, I can just yell at him and he's going to come back and talk to me rather than yell back at me. And we can have that conversation because we just know each other. So I think it's actually advantageous most times. Do
you think that that's like what makes this league so great, Tyler, is about how great the respect level is? Like, I mean, obviously you say, yeah, you grew up with a lot of these guys, you know, a lot of these guys, there's a lot of people that you're familiar with, but do you think that that's important when it comes to being able to officiate a clean game?
It's different doing these games versus doing a younger game because these guys have the understanding that, they have to go to work on Monday. So they know where the line is. And for the most part, they don't cross it. Sometimes hockey becomes hockey, but that's why we're there. So it's just that they're just older. They're more mature. They know exactly, they know the consequences to their actions. So it's easier to definitely communicate with them that way, I think.
Well, and then Dave, like, I mean, this league has obviously changed a ton in the last few years, especially because it has gone from being a older school, rock'em sock'em, let's brouhaha on the red line to, okay, let's play finesse hockey. Let's play a little bit of like, it's not so much rock'em sock'em hockey anymore. And I think from a referee's perspective, it's got to be nice in that sense because it's a little bit easier to officiate.
Yeah, I think that's been probably the biggest leap forward for the league is the style of play. And that's generally true, right, from the NHL all the way down now. The cleanliness of the game, I don't know if that's the right word, but it's a lot different game than when I played minor hockey. I'm a Durham guy. Durham. Exactly. We invented most of the bad stuff that happens, and that's why there's like 5 Durham guys that are referees in the league, by the way.
Interesting.
But it makes it a lot easier to be able to call because the infractions are really like you see it and you go, oh, that's a penalty, right? It's where it used to be, you watch some of those late 70s, early 80s NHL games, the hooking, the grabbing, all that. Like, how did you make a decision on what to call? Right. It's not very difficult now. And oddly enough, half the time, you don't even need to yell out a number on the ice. When your hand goes up, you blow the whistle, and the person that did it goes to the penalty bench.
And someone else yells at you.
Or yells at you, yeah.
It's no, you're right. I mean, there is that level of understanding where it's like, okay, I did it. I'm going to the box. That's it. Whatever. I've accepted the punishment. I got caught red-handed with a hand in the cookie jar, that sort of thing. Senior hockey is really interesting in the fact that there are 14 teams all across Ontario. Every different venue presents its own challenges, especially from a referee's perspective. When it comes to this league in particular, I guess, where do you guys find that there's a particular building or a team that might be a little bit more difficult to, officiate?
All the buildings have their little unique aspect to them, right? They tend to be a little bit smaller. So in a place like Shallow Lake, if the crowd is sitting out in the stands, they're right on top of you for the entire game.
It's crazy.
Versus Port Elgin, the Plex, where they're way up. Clinton, they're kind of around the top. Right. Durham, I love going back to Durham to referee. It's mostly it just takes a period for the fact that it's me reffing to get around the stands, and then they can go crazy after that.
Oh yeah.
But I think we don't go into. I don't have a favorite building. I don't have a building I don't like. It seems like in the year we tend to see buildings maybe 2, 3, 4 times. It'd be nice if we could do a little bit more traveling, to some of the southern teams, but from a financial standpoint, that's really difficult to do in our league.
I can imagine.
Yeah, when we get it, the mileage would just be too much. I don't know, Tyler, do you have a favorite arena? I don't, for sure.
No, I think it's not a secret that around the league there's some arenas that get packed in and there's some arenas that don't. So I think going to a place like Clinton, where you're guaranteed to see 1,000 people almost every night, and they're right around you, and it's just the pedigree of the team, or going into Port Elgin, where I played hockey, and again, you're going to get a bunch of people up there. It's not that you like elevate your game or anything, but there's a different feeling when you're going into one of those games. You're kind of looking forward to it in the week, versus maybe going to one of the other smaller barns where you're like, okay, it's a hockey game, and I'm still excited because this is great hockey, but it just doesn't have the same as when you get a Clinton Port game on a Friday night at Plex. It's just you get up to those games a little bit more. Right.
Oh yeah, and you can just tell the energy that you're feeding off of in a full building. It's just it doesn't compare to going to an empty barn where there's a couple, maybe like less than 100 people, and you're just like, oh, you can hear the crickets or whatever.
But you have to remember, from an officiating standpoint, that while that's you want to make sure that we're having an entertaining game and fun and so forth, really the crowd becomes secondary to it. I still have a job to do, and I'm still going to make sure that at the end of the game, it was as fair a game as we can possibly have. So that's really what we focus on.
No, I want to make it clear that it's not that you don't give it your all when you're in a smaller building where there's not a crowd. It's just you have that extra pop in your step where you never happen to be behind the play when you're right. You're always up in the play and you don't even try. You're just there.
Yeah, totally.
It's that extra feeling.
No, I get that. Interesting story though about that. So funny that you should mention Shallow Lake. So it was funny when Minto went down to Shallow Lake for a game, and I was doing the commentary in the stands. I was doing them about center ice, and of course Shallow Lake, the stands are like 2 rows deep, right on the boards. And the funny thing is that like there wasn't a whole lot of people in the building that night, and they could hear everything I was saying on the ice. It was so funny.
And we also have to keep in mind, as referees, the people in the stands can also hear how we're communicating with the players.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too.
And sometimes it's not nice. And it's not nice because it probably wasn't nice coming the other way first. And if we don't kind of nip that in the bud before it gets too far, right? So our apologies to fans if they hear some things that they didn't want to hear.
Hey, don't worry. The fans in Durham don't care what you have to say. They're already saying all in the stands.
Yeah, it's coming the other way in Durham.
Oh, man. And you know what? I don't knock Durham. Like, I don't have anything ill will to say about Durham. Man, are they electric there. Really, they are. Like, man, they're like the most into it fans that I think I've ever been around in terms of being at a hockey game. And, their language could use a little bit of a cleanup, but they're still into it, and they're still electric. And
if you think of the long-term history of senior hockey in a place like Durham, when I was a kid, lived in Durham when I was, I guess, grade 8. That's a long time ago. So that would have been the Durham Huskies.
Did you have TVs back then? Or?
It was all black and white.
They weren't all flat screen back then.
It was just a radio is all we had. There was like Dean, Don, and Del Nyman, this Tim Sittler, Daryl Sittler's brother, and that got broadcast on the radio every Sunday afternoon. I remember FM 102 coming in to do the broadcast. It was the thing. If you didn't go to the Huskies game, like what were you doing on Sunday? You should have been there. So and that's a nice place to do games because of the history that exists in that building, and because of the history of the teams and the players. And even though they've changed leagues, it's still been senior hockey all the way through.
I understand that. So, like, I mean, you guys did a game together this past year.
We've done a few.
a few games.
Fortunately.
Right? Yeah.
Fortunately. Yeah. Is there a challenge to doing the game with your, like when it comes to doing them together, or like, would you prefer to do them where you're not on the ice at the same time?
I'll take this one.
Yeah, I saw that coming.
Yeah. It's a lot different for me because the players know it, and being, I think, the youngest official in the league. I don't know that for sure, but I would assume so.
Yeah.
And then having my dad on the ice too, it's not great for me. You know, if there's something right in front of me that either I don't see, or and he happens to call, or vice versa, or nobody calls it, you know, it's well, there's daddy to pick you up again. Like, it happens all the time.
No,
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
But that's kind of where I don't, it's tough, but it's understandable. That's what it is, right? It's hockey, it's emotional. So it happens. So that's kind of but at the same time, I've done so many games with him that I know where he's looking. He knows where I'm looking. I know if he missed something. He knows if I missed something. We're there to help each other. If a player's getting on one of our cases, we're there to help each other. You have that, when you work enough with a guy, you have that feeling where you know when he's in trouble without even seeing him.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's been, I actually encouraged Tyler to get into the league. I thought it would be really good for him. You know, he's got junior experience. He went to the Gold Cup for the OHL. You know, he's been on the OHL list to try to get into the league to have a job there, and works junior hockey. And I thought this was a next natural good step for him. And I'll be honest, I can't wait until my other son, Jack, who's now 20, and easily will be able to write his level 3 exam too. I can't wait till he gets a chance to move into the league. I hope he will get that opportunity so that we get a chance to all ref together at least one game before I decide that these legs are getting a little bit too old.
Which is sooner rather than later.
Potentially. That's true.
No, but I mean, like, how cool is it though? Like, I mean, honestly, like, I think it's just like really fascinating that you guys are doing games together, father and son, referee, linesman, whatever you guys are assigned that night. I just think it's a really unique dynamic. I guess, like, why? Like, what is the thing that you guys like that you both enjoy most about refereeing? Like, what is it about officiating this? As man, gets my juices flowing. What is it?
I could never play at this level. I played a year of junior B when I was younger, and there was no way I was going any further. This is the only way that I can, you know, still stay involved. Right. I just love still being a part of the game, and I think with life experience, you become a better official. You have dealt with a lot of different situations, and you're able to kind of deal with those on the ice as they pop up. I'm not the fastest skater, for sure. I know that I'm not, you know, I don't make any bones about that. Tyler is certainly I paid for skating lessons for my kids, and nobody ever paid for skating lessons for me. But I just the fact that I'm still able to be out on the ice contributing to the game, and I don't think any team would say that I'm their favorite ref, but I also don't think that a team would say that I've ever cost them anything. And I think that's when you're not noticed, that's when you're doing what you're supposed to do.
I hear you. What about you, Tyler? What do you enjoy about it?
So when I was in grade 11, I want to say 16, maybe, somewhere around there, I made the decision to quit hockey and go down to Toronto and kind of pursue my baseball career. And I ended up doing 2 years of baseball in the States, college. Wow, and cool, throughout my high school career, I was kind of going back and forth doing all that. So I had to give up the sport that I loved more than anything else. So that was where I made the transition into refereeing, because it allowed me to stay on the ice without kind of that risk. And it was also, honestly, at the time, it was a good way to make money. Mm-hmm. But as you kind of work your way up into those different levels, it's almost like it just becomes more enjoyable in a way. It's a way to stay. It's just a way to stay in the game I love, really, when I couldn't play anymore. And then you just kind of, no matter what people think, you get good at it. So
yeah,
and it's difficult for people to actually. Tyler brings up a good point. It's really difficult for people to understand the difference between, because we all still do minor hockey, right? Mm-hmm. And the minor hockey is 10 times more difficult than the senior.
Sure.
You got mom who thinks that Johnny is Wayne Gretzky, and
of course,
I've seen people like Wayne Gretzky. Johnny's not Wayne Gretzky.
Johnny can't skate.
He can't skate. Yeah, like and I think Tyler's right. As you get to go into the senior league, I did one junior game. I did lines for a junior game. That was that was just a ton of fun. But the senior game, it's really, if you do it correctly and you do the 4-man system correctly, it's work, but it's not hard work.
Right.
And I think when you have a lot of experienced referees and one like Tyler on the ice with you, whether you're working as 2 referees or referee linesmen or however you're working,
Right.
you work with very experienced people in this league, and that experience makes the job a lot easier.
If you guys could reminisce for me a little bit and dig into the old treasure trove, try and find a particular moment that you recall in your, officiating careers that you might peg as like one of the funniest type of moments that you could recall. If you could reminisce about it for us, that'd be great.
I'm gonna pick on Theo for a minute.
Oh boy.
No.
It's not bad. It's not good. It's not bad. I probably won't get a free ice cream cone because of this, but that's okay.
I don't think he gives away a lot of ice cream cones.
So
his ice cream store is doing quite well, Dave.
I'm sure
I'm
it
sure
is.
it is.
Yeah. I was refereeing a minor hockey game before the first practice that Theo ever did with the senior team in Port Elgin.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm coming off the ice to go into the dressing room. Zamboni's coming out. Theo's coming out of the dressing room for the Winterhawks to go on the ice. And I hadn't seen him for since, I guess, probably close to since he played for the Attack.
Which
was quite a while ago.
Well, yeah, because he was playing for the Attack, got drafted by the Oilers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember how many years he played, and then he tried Europe, and
he kind of bounced around a ton, eh? Yeah.
But when I walked off and he was walking, I was like, Theo, I've seen you for a while. He goes, Vince. And Theo was never the smallest man.
No, he couldn't have been.
But he was quite a bit bigger when he went out onto the ice. And I just said, wow. And he knew what I meant. Like but I'll tell you what, you see Theo Peckham skate on the ice, and I don't know what he weighs now. 275.
Probably 250, 260.
I was going to say even a little bit more than that.
Probably. Yeah.
But he is still one of the best skaters and still has some of the best passes and still has the hardest shot.
Oh, he's just a beast. And he's like, he's just so good out there in terms of like, I mean, the thing about this league too, is a lot of younger guys coming in that aren't so big, and they're going up against guys like Theo Peckham. They're probably shitting their pants, right? Like, it's like,
we've been on the ice when he's been challenged, and Theo's a pretty good guy about it, where he just look, there's nothing I'm going to gain out of this fight, so you just keep playing hockey and you won't get hurt.
And you know what? We're not getting in between it until someone's on the ice. So
no, don't do that.
It's not a chance.
Don't do that.
No.
And I don't want to crap on Theo the whole time, because I do love Theo. He is honestly one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
Yeah, he's an outstanding
for
dude.
Sure. So I don't want to just crap on Theo the whole time, but I'll tell a story about Theo while we're going.
Go ahead, Tyler. Take it away.
I'm sure we'll get into a bunch of Attack stories later. I'm sure that's coming eventually, but we'll stay in the senior league. So last year we were doing a game, I want to say Petroleum Port.
Okay.
And without 3 minutes left in the third period, I looked at him, and I admire him up the center ice and doing a line change. I looked at him, I said, Theo, what's going on? He looked to me and he goes, mini mids? What are you doing? It's the third period. I've been in the league for 4 years. So came over and gave me a little slap on the ass. He goes, oh, it's great to see you. This whole game, Theo.
So Tyler, what most people don't know is obviously I work in the stands and have done that for quite a while at Attack games. Tyler and Jack, both of our kids, worked in the dressing room for a number of years. So Tyler got a chance to spend time in the dressing room. When you were there, it would be Bobby Ryan and
I got to meet him. He's cool.
Yeah, Patty Jarrett, Bobby Ryan. You had some amazing hockey players to sit in the dressing room with.
Yeah, the thing about Owen Sound is just there's not a bad guy that goes through that dressing room.
Oh, no.
If he's a bad guy, he gets sent away. That it's too small of a community, too small of a market to have those bad guys. So everybody I met, even last time I saw Bobby during the lockout year, he came over and gave me a hug. And I was 14 when I last saw him, 15.
Yeah.
And just the memories of taking the Russian guys back, Reggie, Andre Sakara. taking him, taking him to and from the airport. I would always go with my dad when he was taking him to the airport, and we would always sit in the back and we'd play GameCube for 3 hours on the little TV we had back there.
Beauty.
So there's a bunch of good memories that come from like a bunch of great guys, and some of them that are actually in the league, like Zweeper and Theo.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Man, that's so cool. Like I say, like it's crazy because there's so many players. At least like for me growing up, it was like I grew up and I was watching a lot of Platers games. Man, I used to go to Platers games all the time, and they were some of the best, unbelievable hockey I've ever seen. And like so you can relate. Some of the guys that went through the Platers organization in the heyday was just unreal. Like
you still run into them. Like hockey is this little collection of people, and you see them in the senior league, and then I'd be walking through some place in Hamilton, and there'd be Curtis Sanford, and you go over, say hi, and chat for a little while. Or the other one's Kirk Maltby, who has never forgot what Owen Sound meant for him. It's just that kind of guy. Yeah. I've been to his house in Cambridge. He's always been there if we needed an autograph, something for a fundraiser or whatever was going on.
Cool.
Andrew Burnett, he's been back to the building. And I think that's the thing that tells you the most about how important Platers / attack are. The players come back, they live in the community, right. They buy a cottage in the community. It's just a part of what they're going to do, right?
Well, and I remember, too, this funny thing you should mention, Andrew Burnett. I remember specifically the one day I was in school, and so I was in high school at St. Mary's in Owen Sound there, and so I would provide a sports report for our morning news, or morning announcements or whatever in high school every day, and I would put something together or whatever. But I recall specifically when Andrew Burnett scored for the Minnesota Wild in the 2003 playoffs against Colorado and put them out. They were supposed to be like unbelievable that year and whatever. Tyler, this might be a little bit before your time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You were 2.
I was 7 years old.
But Dave, you remember, man. Andrew Burnett,
absolutely. Game
winner in overtime, put out the Avs first round. It was like the upset of the most unbelievable upset in that time. And I just remember everybody, at least that I talked to about it, was like, holy crap, Andrew Burnett, Owen Sound guy, or whatever Owen Sound, play, whatever. But it was such. I just remember that vividly. It was so cool.
The one that I remember, I was on Mix 106 doing the morning show when we beat, I think it was Sault Ste. Marie in the Sioux, and Jeff Perry scored in overtime. And I remember having Jeff Perry back on the show when he got back into town.
Okay.
That team is such an integral part of what happens, not in Owen Sound, but in all of Grey Bruce now on a Saturday night. I'm hoping this COVID thing gets over with so that we can all get back to our social night, which was, and it is for me too. It's sitting at the Bay Shore watching. I mean, I don't get to watch much of the game. I'm busy working, but at least being in the building and feeling the energy of our community.
Like, Tyler, I mean, how much are you missing sports, man? Like sports in general. Like, I mean, are you a big sports guy outside of officiating?
Well, let's put it this way. On Wednesday, I watched a full recap of the 2008 Ryder Cup.
Oh,
so nice. Yeah, in order to be watching golf on replay, you have to miss sports. So yeah, I've watched pretty much every Jays game online. I've watched a lot of hockey games, including Boston, Toronto series.
Oh yeah, don't bring that up, dude. Come on, that's not nice.
That's when I need a good drink. So I watch.
Yeah, no doubt, right?
But yeah, it's also a bit of a financial source for the two of us and a lot of guys around the league too. So
right.
As much as I just want the communities to get the hockey back, I just want to be on the ice and I want to be out playing baseball and I want to be golfing and being able to turn on the Jays game at night. And I think you miss how big sports is for everyone's psyche, just for mine, I guess.
Oh no, I agree with that completely. That's the thing. I think it's just everybody's like, now they're just itching for something good to happen and something good to come along, whether it be this plan for hockey playoffs to start soon or, You know, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with baseball? Like, the thing is, they're trying to move this thing back slowly in terms of sports and getting them back, and then boom, like 30 cases, 30 players. It's like, holy smokes, man, you can't get anything right. It's like, wow, what is going on?
The thing that people do forget too is right now everyone in the community is kind of pushed apart. Right, you can't get within 6 feet of people.
Right.
You can't give the hugs that us as humans need. You can't. You have no sense of community, and being back in arenas and being able to watch a Jays game, you just have that. It's a whole arena, it's a whole country, it's a whole province, whatever, pushing towards one goal. There's just that feeling of community that I think's being missed a lot too.
No doubt.
I think even bigger in our house was sports, with whether it was hockey in the winter or baseball in the summer. Both Tyler and Jack played for the Ontario Blue Jays, which is the junior program in Toronto. And that's, I mean, I know he doesn't think much of it, but that's why he ended up playing in college. We were on the road to Toronto twice a week for practice all year round.
Oh, wow.
Leave school early, do homework in the car. Yeah, and then games on either that, or I drop them off Friday. They get on a bus. They go somewhere for a tournament. You pick them up Sunday or Monday morning. When they get back, you drive back home. You go back to school. It was a big part of everything that we've done in this house for 5, 6, 7, it's 10 years now. And for that to kind of go away is pretty difficult. How many? A lot, yeah, it's been a long
20.
time.
I took my first skating lesson when I was 3, right? In Katie.
Yep. The old Katie Arena. Wow. Katie, what was it called? Can skate. Both of them. And I will, till the day I leave the face of this earth, parents, get your kids into can skating. Get them to learn how to skate. Then put equipment on them, give them a stick, and let them chase a puck. Because the first part of hockey is being able to skate, and it's not expensive to get them somebody who knows what they're doing. Let them teach them, and away they go.
Absolutely. No, that's fantastic. I love that piece of advice. We're kind of just running low on time here, so I'm going to let you guys go here shortly. Tyler, I got a question for you, though, I want to ask, because I often debate this in my head about what the amazing arenas were back in the day that I used to play hockey in, and I know you probably played in quite a few. What was your favorite rink to play hockey in as a kid?
Well,
I mean, I know there's lots.
Yeah, it's kind of a cop out too, but I mean, when you got to play at the Bayshore, it was always special because
I remember playing there once.
It was just a bowl. I played in Owen Sound pretty much all growing up, so I got to go down to Hespeler, and it wasn't, the things that I remember about it aren't the arenas I played in. The things I remember are getting on a bus at 8 a.m. with your team and riding there, and then there's like a 2-hour gap while you're playing, and then riding back and just having fun and drinking juice boxes and getting crazy. That's what I remember more than the actual arenas.
What's funny about that? So when you say about playing in Owen Sound, I do actually have a fond memory of when I went to St. Mary's and I played high school hockey for at least one semester. We used to play at the old where the Y is now, the arena that used to be there in Owen Sound. I don't know if you would.
The Coliseum.
Yeah. Unbelievable arena, dude. That place was rocking, man. And obviously, we even were with the Cross, right, with the North Stars, because they played the Cross there. Unbelievable atmosphere, just a great building all around. Guys, do you have any last words, I guess, before we let you go?
I would just encourage people, when there's a senior game going on and you got nothing going on that night, it's really good hockey now. It's not what people talked about 15 years ago. So go see it, because those teams need your support. They need more people to be in the stands. They need more sponsors. They need to be able to play this game at this level. These guys who play in this league are not rec hockey players. They are, for all intents and purposes, professional hockey players. Give them a chance.
Absolutely. Tyler, give us a wrap, buddy.
All right. The thing I would say is a bit sappy, but just remember when you're going out to hockey games that even if it's a minor hockey game, those kids that are on the ice with the stripes on, they're learning. They're not out there to get yelled at. They're trying. Hey, I'm nowhere close to perfect. He's nowhere close to perfect. I'll admit it. We're all out there learning. We're all trying to get better. If somebody's being lazy, tell them they're being lazy. But other than that, show some respect, and we'll show some respect back. And like I said, we're doing it for the love of the game.
Right on. Dave and Tyler Middleton, my guests on today's episode of the podcast. Guys, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Once again, I want to thank Dave and Tyler Middleton for stopping by on the podcast today. The WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast, episode number 26. It's been a great week. We had the Canada Day special on Wednesday, and then we had Mitch Scott on Monday. Just a fabulous week in terms of the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey podcast. Just unbelievable, and this has been a glorious success, really. And I've been so happy to be pumping these podcasts out to you guys and having you guys watch them and in response. So thank you very much for all of your support. Thank you to Mitch Scott from Starting Lineup, Uniform and Apparel. Thank you to Dave and Tyler Middleton once again for coming on. And thank you, the viewer, for watching another episode. I am Andrew Rogers, the host of the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast, saying we'll see you on Monday with Brendan Merritt.